Welcome to Tabletop Gaming Guild. Today we'll be doing an unboxing of Manchester Madness 2nd Edition, designed by Nikki Valance and published by Fantasy Flight Games. And I know what you're thinking, how can you not already own this game if it's in your top 10? Well, simply, I've been playing it with other people who own the game, and I'm a little bit late to the party getting it for myself. If you don't already know, Manchester Madness 2nd Edition does require an app to play, but the app is free, and it does constantly change the game, so it adds a lot of variability by having this functionality. As usual, it's a Fantasy Flight game, so it does have two rulebooks, one that's actual rules and one's for references to quickly look things up, but because of the app, you don't actually have to use the rules too much, and it's very easy to learn. And here we got the various map pieces. You generally will only see a few of these in each scenarios, so it gives you quite a lot of variety, and these are double-sided, so there's definitely a lot of different layouts you can have for the different buildings you'll be in. And there are a lot of small details on each map piece that do come up in various scenarios. And even if you play the same scenarios, those different details can mean different things. These tiles for the base game are nice, though they don't stand out as much because it's just basically a everyday mansion. The expansions, though, add some interesting environments. Tokens are fine quality. You won't be using them a ton. Mostly you'll be using the miniatures. These Insanity cards are probably the coolest cards in the game. It may be nothing. Maybe you have to sacrifice yourself to win. So you may have to sacrifice others to win. And there's various spells. There's a few copies of each spell because the spell will always act differently from use to use. Give me an unpredictability that is in step with this theme. Then we have various status effects that can be put on you by monsters. These are invariably bad, but sometimes they can be pretty devastating situationally. Then we have a number of unique items. These sometimes have different purposes or fill different story elements throughout the game. Okay, then we have common items. This is a decent sized deck. Now, I know some people will complain about how small these cards are, but this is already an expensive game. Anything to save a little bit of cost on this game is probably a good thing. And a huge deck of potential effects from damage and potential effects from mental damage, which I'll avoid spoiling, because part of the fun is flipping these and seeing what happens. And a few more common item cards, so yeah, there's quite a few things you can pick up in a scenario, and considering you only pick up a couple items each scenario, you're not going to see much of it. It's going to take quite a few games to see everything. Various bases for monsters. And then we got your character cards. Nice art on these. Now, and stats differ from character to character. And each character has a little bio background to give you a sense of why they're there. Save these minis for last. Dice are good quality. Engraving's pretty deep, so they shouldn't rub off or scratch off. It should last a long time. My camera is not really good enough to pick up the level of detail, but these are very detailed minis. High quality, solid. They should not melt or bend or break. They also do a good job of straddling the line and being horrifying, but not grotesque or raunchy. This is largely done by simply a matter of scale. You have a lot of smaller monsters, but then you have a couple of really big, nasty looking monsters. Also, having some human looking villains makes the non-human ones seem even more horrifying. Seen a couple of the allies, the heroes really. There's one. Yeah, they're just pretty much begging to be painted. I think this would look really, really nice with a paint job. At very least for the heroes, to make them easier to distinguish between the villains. and monsters. I do like how the dynamic poses of the heroes does make them stand out and makes them distinguishable from one another. And you'll also notice that the heroes have fixed bases, whereas the monsters do not, because you have the plastic base that you can slide their information card into. Well, it's a good thing that's all the minis, because I'm running out of things to say about them. But you may also notice that it doesn't seem like there's enough content to justify the large price of this game. That's because a lot of the price goes into the phenomenal app that Fantasy Flight continues to add to. And this app is just phenomenal. There's many options you can add, so you can look at if you just have the base game, or if you even have the first edition, you can add those components and add those stories. You can see all the different expansions you can unlock. Obviously, you have to have the physical components for the expansions to have any purpose whatsoever, because yeah, if you don't have the physical components, you don't have the tiles that you needed, you don't have the monsters you needed. And let's take a quick look at this app. I don't want to get too far into it. I just want to give you the gist. So you got a few different stories. Now, if you look at just the base options, I think there's four ones that are available for the base game. But each playthrough is going to be slightly different because the app will change it up. It'll randomize things. It'll change how the story develops. It'll even change some of the plot points. So it can feel like a very different scenario each time. And then there's a lot of additional content, as you can see, that can be bought or just gained through buying expansions. And you know, there's the base characters that are available. You can set how many players you're gonna have. It tells you what your starting items are, and then you know, you got this little flavor text, but that's whatever.
You slump into your office chair after another long day of interviews. You've been investigating the disappearances surrounding a wealthy neighborhood for 2 weeks, but you have nothing to show for it.
And that's the other really cool element of this app is it is narrated. So you get the introduction, and various elements throughout the story are narrated with music. So yeah, it's a really cool app.
A wealthy bachelor. Mother recently
Obviously, I don't want to tell too much of the story or show too much of the story, so I'll just show a little bit of how the app works. So it gives you some ambient noise, shows you how to set up the first room, and as you explore more and discover new rooms, it'll show you how to set those up step by step, so you're not setting up everything all at once. You're putting a little bit at a time. And there's various elements you can interact with, and it will walk you through those interactions and change them up from play to play. And don't think even the map will be the same. So you play the same scenario again, they may rearrange the house. So just because in the first time you played it, going through one specific room was how you progressed, it may not be the same thing the second time around. Especially if you've added expansions, because it will incorporate some of the elements from the expansions and even the scenarios that normally don't include those expansions. Well, I suppose that I should wrap this up because I don't want to reveal too much, and also this unboxing is starting to turn into a full review. Well, thank you for watching. Please join us again for more unboxings, reviews, previews, and playthroughs. And we'd really appreciate it if